to our exclusive interview with Cheng Lei. That's the Australian journalist who was jailed by China 3 years ago on fake charges of leaking national secrets. And then she was suddenly released last week ahead of the Prime Minister's trip to China. No coincidence there, I think. Joining me is Annelise Nielsen, our Sky News US correspondent. Annelise, lovely to see you again. You actually flew back to Australia to do this interview because you are a former colleague of Cheng Lei and you campaigned relentlessly on this show, for instance, to get her release. It was just fantastic what you did. How did you find her when you went to talk to her yesterday?
Look, she's remarkable. I think just after spending the time with her, I just kept thinking, I'm so glad we've got her back because she is an extraordinary human and she's been through absolute hell. And it is so lovely to see her with her kids again. And I think she has an incredible story to tell. I don't want to tell too much of it for her, but I think I've worked with her partner, Nick, for the last few years doing advocacy for her case. And this is just all been so worth it to see this outcome come together. We're so proud of how she's handled it. And obviously a lot of it's quite emotional. There's some things she wasn't comfortable talking about yet. This is very fresh. She's only been out a week, but she does have an incredible story to tell.
Now, one thing that I've been picking up on what you've said before this interview about the interview, is there something that we should note about how she talks about it, her reflections on it, as we watch it? Because it seems that she was kept out of the loop about a lot of things that were going on.
I mean, she had half-hour consular visits once a month, and those weren't detailed updates about everything in the world. They were things like messages from her kids. I mean, I saw her passing messages back and forth, worried about her son's school enrolment. Can you imagine in half an hour once a month? Those are the things that you're talking about. And so I think one thing we really need to keep into context here is she has just been out a few days. She's overwhelmed. She's talked about how there's just a shock of colours in the world after being in detention for so long, about getting back to noise and hugs and all those little things. But just to put into context too, for those who haven't been following her case, there's the first 6 months she spent in what's called residential surveillance at a designated location. And that sounds like it might not be that bad. That's kind of the worst case scenario. That's basically you're in isolation, you have full-time guards watching your every move, you don't get to go outside, you don't get to talk to people. And so things improved for her drastically after 6 months when she was then moved to another secure facility, another detention-like facility, but that was the first time she had cellmates. And that's where her life improved somewhat. But throughout this process, she's never known when the end date would be. There was the constant pushback of the sentencing. And so for that whole time, she hasn't known, oh, if I just wait this out, if I just survive 4 months or whatever it is, then I'll be out. So this is where so much of the stress and anxiety for her has come. And now it was bizarre even going to do this interview with her because I was thinking, well, from one aspect, I don't know what she's been through. And from the other, I know so much more than she knows because we've been seeing what's happening outside. Yeah. We had all this information. So I do want people to keep that in mind.